Good afternoon, Facebook. May the 4th be with you. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2020. It is now 1:02 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I spent considerable time this morning looking at numbers, and as I have said I like doing, trying to establish a pattern, trying to make sense of things. And I've actually successfully come up with some things that I'm excited to share today. Before I get into that, last night I took another one of my long walks, which I was pleased to do because it was a nice, clear night. The moon was out, the stars were out. It was a comfortable temperature. And I use this app that allows me to track how far I've walked. And when I'm finished with the walk, I'm able to look at a map and see where I went and what the route was. Last night, I walked 8.57 miles. It took me 2 hours and 43 minutes, and according to the app, I burned over 1,100 calories. That was agreeable to see. So this morning, I slept in rather late because I was home, I don't know, sometime around 1:30 in the morning. But my legs are sore, but it was nice to get that much exercise. Well, let's get into coronavirus statistics, shall we? The world is currently looking at a figure of 3,619,523 positive or confirmed cases. The world has experienced 250,000 deaths as a result of COVID-19, 250,478 confirmed coronavirus fatalities as of now. The United States is now at 1.2 million. 1,200,794 positive or confirmed cases. The United States, 69,116 deaths. It's important for me to check myself every once in a while and remember that these numbers represent real human lives. It's important for all of us in all walks of life to keep that in mind. I'm sure that everyone does. But as statistics continue pouring out, and as they are calculated and models and projections are extrapolated from them, sometimes without intending to, we can all grow a bit numb to the reality of what we're seeing. I've got to remember to do that as well. Again, United States, Spain, Italy, United Kingdom, France, and Germany are all ranked at the top of the list for the total number of positive or confirmed cases, according to worldometers.info. And these figures are World Health Organization approved, so to speak. These are the official numbers. They're never subject to any scrutiny in the media or skepticism. These are the numbers that are being used to inform and to shape our policy and strategy with respect to mitigating the disease. Looking at the United States, again, we are currently sitting at 1,200,794. The state of New York, which not too long ago comprised half of the total cases, is now down to just over a quarter, reporting 326,823 positive or confirmed cases and a death toll of 24,674. I'm sorry, 24,874. The state of Washington, 15,776 positive or confirmed cases. Our state has experienced 837 deaths thus far. Speaking of the state of Washington, the governor is at this very moment holding a press conference. I was going to delay commencing today's broadcast until after I'd watched it, but I wasn't able to find any place where it was streaming. Maybe if I'd looked for a little longer, I might have, but it just didn't seem as easy to see as the one that was held on Friday when the governor announced the extension of his stay-home order and the implementation of a 4-phased approach to reopening our state. As retail establishments, such as the one where I work, are included in some form in phase 1, I have a vested interest in knowing exactly the details of that. Once the government in the state here gives the green light, then our company can begin to make more proactive decisions about when and how I and my team may return to work. I'm going to do a little bit more detailed look a little more detailed at the Washington figures today. But first, let's just take a quick look at my former home state of Nebraska. 5,910 with a total of 78 coronavirus-related fatalities. Did you guys know that Oregon has extended their state of emergency all the way through the 6th of July? This is something from 2 days ago. Oregon Governor Kate Brown held a press conference Friday laying out her COVID-19 containment strategy and plans for reopening. The move comes roughly 2 months after the original declaration was signed on March 8th. It was set to expire May 7th. Extending the state of emergency declaration allows those orders to stay in effect. However, the governor can still lift her orders as the COVID-19 situation warrants. Well, how is Oregon looking? I mean, there's this pact of Western states, right? Where Washington, Oregon, California, other states such as Colorado, Utah, Idaho, I believe, are all sort of together in the way that we're going to confront things. But Oregon is actually looking like they're in fairly decent shape. Trying to find them. Yeah, Oregon. They're looking at 2,680 positive or confirmed cases, and they've lost only 109 lives, as compared, again, to the 837 lives lost here in Washington state and the 15,776 cases of the disease in Washington state. So, again, they're our immediate neighbor to the south. We're looking at almost 16,000 cases, and they're at 2,680. And they're extending their state of emergency all the way out until the 6th of July. Now, since they're part of this same Western States Pact in which we are a member, is that going to affect our state policy? I wonder. Now, I want to look a little more closely at Washington State's figures, county by county. Pierce County remains, as it has for a long time, in third place. When I looked at numbers this morning, we were sitting exactly at 1,500 cases, 1,500 cases exactly, with 52 fatalities. Unexpectedly, Yakima County is not far behind us. They are currently reporting 1,411 cases and 48 fatalities. King County remains by far at the top of this list, 6,464 cases, 458 fatalities, and Snohomish with 2,696 cases and 109 fatalities. So this press conference with Governor Inslee ought to be over fairly soon, and I imagine I'll be able to read what was announced officially, including when do we actually enter Phase 1. The Seattle PI indicated that Phase 1 begins today, but I don't think that's true. The only thing that actually was set to take effect today was the lifting of certain restrictions on outdoor recreational activities, boating, fishing, public lands, public state parks, etc. So we will see what we'll see. I think the governor said in his press conference on Friday that the full effect of Phase 1 could take effect by mid-May. So I think that Seattle PI got it wrong on that one. But we'll see what the governor has to say in his press conference. Now, I wanted to take another look at the figures, and I'm going to zoom out to more global figures, nation by nation, because this is something I've been meaning to do for a while. When I read out these numbers, and the United States is at the top of the list, we're ranked by the total number of positive or confirmed cases, but that figure doesn't give any consideration to that figure as a portion of our overall population. The United States has a much bigger population than Spain, for instance, has, and the United Kingdom. So if you examine the numbers in a different light, the ranking is somewhat different. I took a look at 4 countries: the United States, Spain, Italy, and the United Kingdom, and then China, a total of 5 countries. So these 4 Western civilization countries, and then China. And I took a look at the numbers that I got from worldometers.info as a portion of the overall population, and here's what I came up with. In the United States, 0.365% of the population is reporting positive results for coronavirus. So just over 1/3 of 1% of the population is sick with this disease. As I've done before, if you just take the number of people who are reported to have died from coronavirus divided by the number of people reported to have coronavirus, you get an infection fatality rate, which I've calculated within the United States as being 5.75%. That means that in the United States, 0.021% of the population of the United States has passed away from coronavirus. Let's take a look at Spain. 0.5%, 0.528% of the population of Spain has tested positive for coronavirus. And 0.05% of the population has died. Italy, 0.351% of the population has gotten sick from this, and 0.04%. Now, these numbers indicate a relatively stable pattern. Now, let's take a look at China. China with nearly 1.4 billion people. China, where this whole thing began. According to the official numbers, World Health Organization approved numbers, 0.006% of their population has gotten sick. They're still sitting at around 83,000, a number which has not changed in 2 months. Now, when it comes to the percentage of the Chinese population who has died from coronavirus, 0.00003% of the population of China has passed away. If these numbers are to be believed. Now, why do I say it that way, if these numbers are to be believed? Well, as I've pointed out, there are seroprevalence surveys going on. There have been at least 3 of them reported in the major news media here in the United States, 2 in California and 1 in New York. And they all seem to indicate that the number of people who have been infected, not the number who's died, of course, but the number of people who've been infected could be anywhere between 28 and 55 times higher than what's being officially reported. So these numbers, like for instance in the United States, 0.365% of the population, that number could be between 28 and 55 times lower than that. And this is not just some whimsical conspiracy theorizing. These are actual studies, antibody testing, suggesting that COVID-19 infections greatly exceed documented cases. Now, again, the number of people to have passed away remaining a constant number as a numerator in that fraction, the denominator could be way lower than it is. And the officially reported denominator is that, again, 0.365. So just over 1/3 of 1% of the population of the country, according to the official numbers, has gotten sick from this. But that number could be anywhere between 28 and 55 times smaller. And look at China, of course. Look how good they're doing according to the official numbers, right? I thought I remember seeing a news story where some Chinese diplomat is saying, oh, well, our lockdowns and our mitigation and our containment methods have worked and the rest of the world is just jealous. Just jealous, right? So they're suggesting the rest of the world wants to be more like them. And isn't it a coincidence that these numbers being reported and being approved by the World Health Organization seem to confirm that China's methods are right and the methods being used by the rest of the world are wrong? What a funny coincidence, huh? You know something? That's not the only place where you find that sentiment, looking at facts, figures, and numbers as related to coronavirus cases, being used to support the idea that their methods for containment have been superior and more effective than anywhere else in the world. Numbers not increasing at all for 2 solid months while the rest of the world is in a frenzy. This same idea that China has it right and the United States has it wrong can also be seen in the debate over free speech. I've been talking lately about the censorship going on social media platforms. Facebook, YouTube, others. They're openly admitting, the CEOs of those respective platforms are openly admitting that they are suppressing and removing content which goes against what the World Health Organization, an organization that is under constant fire from all directions at this point for its complicity in Chinese propaganda and to its irresponsibility in the way it initially handled the beginning phases of this pandemic. If anybody goes on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or any other of the major social media platforms and posts information which is not approved by that very corrupt organization, the World Health Organization, then their content is suppressed. And this isn't even a secret anymore. I found a story published about a little more than a week ago on April 25th. I guess that's about 2 weeks now. On The Atlantic. And some of what I found in here, I found extremely disturbing. Internet speech will never go back to normal. COVID-19 has emboldened American tech platforms to emerge from their defensive crouch. Before the pandemic, they were targets of public outrage of life under their dominion. Today, the platforms are proudly collaborating with one another and following government guidance to censor harmful information related to the coronavirus. And they are using their prodigious data collection capacities in coordination with federal and state governments to improve contact tracing, quarantine enforcements, and other health measures. As Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg recently boasted, the world has faced pandemics before, but this time we have a new superpower: the ability to gather and share data for good. Always for good, right? Now, this is a rather lengthy piece. I'm not going to read all of it to you, but there's a couple paragraphs and statements within this that I think bear sharing with everyone. How about this one? In the great debate of the past 2 decades about freedom versus control of the network being the internet, China was largely right and the United States was largely wrong. Significant monitoring and speech control are inevitable components of a mature and flourishing internet, and governments must play a large role in these practices to ensure that the internet is compatible with a society's norms and values. Governments must play a large role in these practices to ensure that the internet is compatible with a society's norms and values. That makes my hair stand on end. People are saying it openly now, openly declaring it government censorship, the suppression of so-called harmful ideas. This reminds me of something I saw in an episode of Babylon 5. It's like science fiction, the government using big tech companies to monitor people's movements, and not just their movements, but what they're saying. They're not even making a secret of it. They're proudly declaring it and proclaiming it to be a socially superior way of addressing things. Here's another section of this story. The result a decade later is that most of our online speech now occurs in closely monitored playpens, where many tens of thousands of human censors review flagged content to ensure compliance with ever lengthier and more detailed community standards or some equivalent. Now, just the other day, as an experiment, I found in a comment to one of my friends' posts on Facebook a blatantly racist statement. It was racism aimed at white people, but it was racist at its core. As an experiment, I reported it to the Facebook authorities, and almost immediately, in less than half an hour, I got a response saying, "Hey, we don't see a problem with this. We're not going to take it down." Really? Here's another piece of information being bragged about. Facebook will notify users when articles that they have liked are later deemed to have included health-related misinformation. Again, Facebook will notify users when articles they have liked are later deemed to have included health-related misinformation. What misinformation? Like what? Anything that doesn't agree with the World Health Organization? Wasn't the World Health Organization going around telling people that human-to-human transmission of this disease was impossible as recently as January? Facebook relies on fact-checking organizations and authorities from the World Health Organization to the governments of the United States to ascertain which content to downgrade or remove. It says it right here in The Atlantic. And The Atlantic is not exactly critical of these ideas and of these methods. They're bragging about it. Facebook relies on fact-checking organizations and authorities, such as the World Health Organization, to ascertain which content to downgrade or remove. And again, this is not illegal. The Constitution doesn't protect against this because these are private entities. They can do what they want. But it is a sentiment which is deemed superior and necessary, certainly in governments like China. And according to The Atlantic, China's got it right and we've got it wrong. Interesting how that's echoed by these figures that seem to indicate that China's mitigation and containment strategies have brought coronavirus to a standstill in their country and life is returning to normal and all the rest of the world is just jealous of them, right? So we should be like them, not only in our mitigation and containment strategies, but also in the way that we monitor the content of Facebook and YouTube. This is getting downright scary, guys. There's another couple passages from this story in The Atlantic. Apple and Google have told critics that their partnership will end once the pandemic subsides. Facebook has said that its aggressive censorship practices will cease when the crisis does. But when COVID-19 is behind us, we will still live in a world where private firms vacuum up huge amounts of personal data and collaborate with government officials who want to access that data. Skipping ahead a little bit, the harms from digital speech will also continue to grow, as will speech controls on these networks, and invariably, government involvement will grow. At the moment, the private sector is making most of the important decisions, though often under government pressure. Again, referencing an episode of Babylon 5 from back in the 90s, when all of this was laughably obvious as science fiction. There will be some minor and temporary abridgments to traditionally protected free speech, but only until the current crisis is over. That was a quote from an episode of this science fiction show where the Earth government was taking control of everybody's daily lives. It's actually happening now. I didn't think I'd live to see it. So I have to wonder, as I stand here each day and print out documents, figures, facts, etc., and as I come to these conclusions, and I checked the math, it all comes out. It's all contained. It's all consistent internally. The numbers are right. So as I continue to do this, I wonder, are my videos going to get censored? Is my content going to be removed? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for listening. Be good to each other.